Hi students, welcome to the second day of LaEx PURANA. In the continuation of this series, we were dealing with the Indian society part of GS1 subject. And today we are going to deal with the topic women. And let's have a look at what are the previous year questions that have been asked as part of this role of women and women organization. And when you look at what aspects of women and women organization have to be incorporated into the notes, and when you look at this particular topic, you see that one aspect that has to be incorporated is what is the status of women. Because you know that the status of women being a vulnerable section of the society, you would also study about women in GS2 as part of the vulnerable sections as social justice. So once you are able to analyze that what is the status of women, it might be the demographic status, it might be the socio-economic profile with respect to their literacy rate, with respect to their life expectancy, with respect to rate maternal mortality, with respect to their IMR, with respect to the status of female feticides. Once you are able to understand, once you are able to note down about the status, then immediately talk about that what are the issues that are persisting with respect to this particular section of the society. Because when you look at the issues that are persisting with respect to this particular section of the society, it might be your social issues, it might be your political issues, it might be your economic issues. And please remember that whenever you are making a notes on the issues with respect to the women, one very important caution that you have to keep in mind is we have to utilize keywords. For example, we have to talk about sun meta preference, we have to talk about glass ceiling effect, we have to talk about triple burden. So what is happening is when I am able to incorporate these keywords in the notes, it becomes fluid for me to use these in the answer writing. So the second aspect that you are supposed to incorporate in your notes is what are the issues that are persisting with respect to the women. The third aspect that are supposed to be included with respect to the women as a topic on this particular thing is what is the role of women organizations. What is the role of women organizations in emancipation of women in tackling of such issues? This has to be undergone, this has to be seen with respect to what is their role, what is the role, and also look at what is the evolution or what is the chronology, what is the trajectory of growth of these women organizations in India. Once you are able to realize that what is the trajectory, what is the role or what is the nature of its growth, you will see that what is their role in emancipating women in tackling the issues of women. Once you are able to understand this, an extended concept, if you still want to emphasize upon, you can talk about the feministic tendencies. The feministic tendencies or the ideology of feminism. The growth of feminism, the liberal feminism, the Marxian feminism, that can be a contingency topic. That can be a contingency topic. Once we have seen these aspects, then we will talk about that what are the measures taken, so far taken. That measures can be institutional measures, that measures can be legislative measures, that measures can be administrative measures. Now we can talk about, if you are able to bring in these dimensions in your notes for this particular topic, you will be able to answer every question that is asked. Just look at it. Examine the role of gig economy in the process of empowerment of women in India. Now when you are talking about gig economy, it is fundamentally asking about the economic dimensions of the issues that are being faced by the women. Because you talk about pink collar jobs, you talk about gender stereotyping in the context of economic sector, you talk about glass ceiling effect with respect to the restrictions on the prospects of the career growth of women. So that you can answer. Look at this, women movements in India has not addressed the issues of women of the lower strata, substantiate your view. That means it is fundamentally talking about that it is not only with respect to the women as a topic, it is also talking about that the economic profile of the individual is also creating a double burden onto the women. That is a major issue. Then how do you explain the statistics that show the sex ratio in tribes being more favorable than the sex ratio among scheduled castes? Now here what is happening again? This is what is called as the composite nature of questioning. Composite nature of questioning. That means they are playing upon the vulnerable section and they are also talking that women as a section of the society are facing double burden, not only the societal but also political but also economic. See, all these questions that are asked under the women organizations can be answered with these four dimensions beautifully. You can bring in a multi-dimensional answer with these four. That's all. Your notes making is all about what to realize and what is navigating. What is navigating you? The only navigation is previous year questions. Now let's discuss one question here, that why do some of the most prosperous regions have an adverse sex ratio? Give your arguments. Now here what is the UPSC asking? UPSC is asking for what are the arguments with respect to that the prosperous region and adverse sex ratio. So it is asking that what is the relation that is existing with respect to prosperity and sex ratio, and why are these regions which are prosperous are having skewed sex ratio. That is the argument that which is asking. That means when it is asking for an argument, we have to say yes, it is observed. And for this, what are the factors? That is what is asking. Then, no, not necessarily. That you have a different dimension, not necessarily, it is not a universal phenomena, but mostly observed. In a second aspect, it is no. For this, what are the examples or what are the factors that are present? The simplest introduction you can write is the regions with such prosperity as well as the skewed sex ratio. Regions like Delhi, regions like Chandigarh, regions like Punjab, regions like Haryana, their sex ratio is around 850, whereas the average sex ratio of India is around 940. That means, although these regions are economically very, very active, these are industrialized states, but they have a limited sex ratio, skewed sex ratio. You have to see what are the reasons. There is a negative correlation that is existing. That means that the prosperity and sex ratio, they are negatively correlated in these regions. It can be because of agricultural societies. You know that agricultural society will demand a male dominant, a male inclusive, or a kind of male included in the profession. Then gender discriminative practices. It might be with respect to the dowry practices. It might be with respect to the female feticide practices, because what happens is the income levels are very, very high in these regions. Then technology accessibility, they will be able to access to the technology with respect to the sex selective abortion techniques. Then lack of cultural progress. Then also the poor enforcement. For example, we have PCP and DT Act. Now all of these factors are leading to that the prosperity, or in regions of prosperity, there is very, very less sex ratio. But we have to bring in the flip dimension. We have to bring in the flip dimension stating that not necessarily. It is not necessary. That one example we can talk is Kerala. In Kerala, the fundamental reason why we have a sex ratio, a balanced sex ratio, although that particular region is highly developed, you know that Kerala happens to be one of the top runners with respect to your Human Development Index. The reason is high female literacy rate. Also, improved medical facilities, their basic social needs, it might be your education, it might be sanitation, it might be health, all of them are fundamentally provided. So this particular aspect is going to have, the prosperity will have a direct relation with sex ratio and maintaining a balanced sex ratio. And when we see that, we can also conclude by using measures. Those measures can be societal, those measures can be economic, those measures can also be legal, with strict enforcement, with strict sensitization, with strict behavioral change campaigns. You can necessarily ensure that the gender balance, the sex ratio is maintained. And conclude by saying that, for example, there were schemes like selfie with daughter. These schemes like selfie with daughter with fundamentally would promote gender sensitization. Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao and the selfie with daughter. These schemes have fundamentally brought in a categorical change in the states like Haryana. So these can be stated, you can show the examiner stating that these are the things which can bring in sensitization, which can bring in change. Right? If you want to practice a question, you can practice one question with respect to this is that, yes, what are the, you can practice this question, what are the continued challenges for women, this question, what are the continued challenges for women in India against time and space? Practice this question. Okay, thank you.